When Gladiator released in 2000, it became an instant classic, something people rewatch to this day. An epic, emotional, and self-contained movie. But years later, Gladiator 2 reignited the conversation, almost 20 years later. But now, there's a bigger question at hand. Hello everyone and welcome back to AustinPlus commentary, where today we are answering the question, should there be a Gladiator 3? Now, I have only just recently watched Gladiator 2. I was supposed to watch it in cinema. I was a bit slow. But Gladiator 2 was absolutely amazing, so I was like, right, I kind of want a third one, but should we have one? So I thought I'd make a video on it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the original Gladiator movie worked really, really well. That's without a question. The original Gladiator succeeded because it told a very complete, emotional, satisfying story. Maximus's journey had a very clear beginning, middle, and end that was driven by loss, honor, and redemption. Its impact came from the very much restraint of this movie, but it also knew when to stop. The film's legacy was definitely built on the finality, making any continuation immediately risky. So, why did that change for Gladiator 2? Because as soon as people heard that they were doing a Gladiator 2, they were like, oh, well, this is bad, because sequels basically just mess up everything. And I'm one of those believers, however, I might have changed my thought process. But Gladiator 2 attempted to expand the world rather than repeat Maximus's story. Great idea to start with anyway. By shifting focus to the new character and political consequences, it reframed the franchise as a very much broader Roman epic rather than just a singular revenge tale. Which, yes, it still probably would have worked, but I think it's much better that they went with a new avenue that still was definitely maximized by the first story. I don't think maximized was just a good word to use there. It just... yeah, that was sad. And while this approach avoided direct repetition, it also raised questions about whether the franchise's identity could survive without the original emotional anchor that was Maximus. Now, there is a risk with both the second film and the third. And it's the risk of diluting the classic, which I think is a very big concern, and I completely understand it as well. Sequels to iconic films often struggle because they risk rewriting or cheapening what made the original so special. A third Gladiator film could further dilute the emotional weight of Maximus' story, especially if it leans too heavily on nostalgia or spectacle without purpose. Sometimes legacy suffers when stories overstay their welcome. Star Wars. This also begs the question, if there was a Gladiator 3, what would the story be? The most important question isn't can there be a Gladiator 3, it's why. Gladiator 2 had an amazing reason, but Gladiator 3 can't repeat that. A third film would need a very compelling narrative, that reason, beyond expanding the franchise just for fun. Without a strong theme and core, honor, sacrifice, and political transformation, Gladiator 3 just wouldn't work, and it risks feeling very unnecessary and just like a cash grab. Now, I think why Gladiator 1 worked well was because it was sort of based on like a story that has been told many, many times, but also it is it's a film that was based on sort of true events, if you get what I mean. And Gladiator 2 also kind of worked that way. But now with the Gladiator 3, you are basically have to combat the two, franchise mentality and then historical epicness. But Gladiator works as a historical epic, but not as a cinematic universe, and I think that's why we might have to put a halt on the Gladiator 3 idea. Turning it into a franchise shifts focus from storytelling to basically brand management, which is basically two different things. Roman history offers endless stories, that is for sure, but not all of them need to be tied to the Gladiator. All of them could be their own story. A new epic could exist without carrying the weight of the Gladiator name. I think if they went in chronological order that were based on certain true endless events, maybe that might work. Or as a show, I think maybe if they did a Gladiator show, they've done Robin Hood to death and still people watch that. But like, if they did something like that with Gladiator, it would bang so much better than it would by doing like consistent films like ... with famous actors. Because other than that, it is slowly they would lose money, and I think if they introduced new actors through that show, it would be amazing. Now, in saying that, you now have options. You either carry on with doing Gladiator films or Gladiator shows. An audience's expectations and nostalgia, I think, are where the deep-rooted issues and consequences might lie. Now, audiences approach Gladiator, the film, with very high expectations that are rooted in nostalgia, and that's what would be carried on to the third film if they were to do one. A third film would face immense pressure to match or exceed emotional resonance of the original. And when nostalgia drives production decisions, it can overshadow creativity rather than enhance it. If Gladiator 3 was to happen, what should it be about? If a Gladiator 3 were to happen, it should be very much restrained, definitely theme, rich. It should be rich in the, Gladiator Roman theme, and focused on the legacy rather than a spectacle. I think a smaller character-driven story exploring the aftermath of Rome's transformation could work, but only if it respects the finality of what came before. I think if they were to do a third film, it should be the end. So, should there be a Gladiator 3? A third Gladiator film isn't inherently wrong, it just isn't necessary either. Only if there's something meaningful left to say, otherwise the most honourable choice might be to let Gladiator remain what it already is, a timeless classic. Without a powerful story to justify its existence, Gladiator 3 would likely feel like excessive rather than evolution. Sometimes preserving a legacy means knowing when not to continue. But without further ado, folks, that is the end of today's video. I do hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please like and subscribe and comment what else you would like to see on the channel. But without further ado, hope you have an amazing day as always, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye! Yeah!